Welcome to Lab Notes. I'm Joe Fetterman with Colliers Life Sciences Advisors, and we're here today with Ravi Samavedam of Azzur Clean Rooms on Demand. Ravi, welcome to Lab Notes.
Thank you, Joe.
Well, it's great to have you here. You are on the verge of opening a facility in the Philadelphia region, and we'd like to know a lot more about Azzur Clean Rooms on Demand, about the concept, about how this came to be, and about the offering.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Joe. I'm happy to share the story with you.
Good. So let's start with Azzur as a company. This is a fairly broad company. You folks have a lot of offerings. Initially, really primarily in the consulting space. Do I have that right?
That's right. We had about 450 people nationwide. A majority of our folks, our employees, are in the consulting space, all in biopharma, med device. We do a lot of project management, program management, setting quality management systems from ground up, helping companies build facilities, get processes started. And we've been in the business in some shape or form for about 30 years. The name Azzur was formed in 2010, and it was a merger of two companies. Back in that time, they were primarily focusing on validation, equipment qualification, and computer validation. And for the last 10, 11 years, we've added on other service areas, including labs, training, IT, calibration. Obviously, qualification services were always part of our bread and butter. And the last but not least, Clean Rooms on Demand, which is the division that I currently lead.
Well, what's so exciting about Azzur Clean Rooms on Demand is that it really addresses a current and really pressing issue in the marketplace. And as you and I have discussed previously, you've got small developing companies who have a molecule and who are looking to get to clinical trials. So how does your offering assist them in doing that?
Sure. Maybe if I can rewind a little bit and tell you how we embarked on this idea that can kind of tell you a little bit about the value proposition of this business. So right around 2014, 2015, we got a lot of consulting requests to help startup companies to develop quality management systems from ground up to help basically enable them to GMP manufacturing for the first time. So these are companies who are primarily R&D companies, development companies that may have done some preclinical work in the lab, but really have never done first in human kind of manufacturing activities. And we helped those companies a few times, including retrofitting clean rooms in high rises in Cambridge to enable GMP manufacturing to happen, which took a lot of time and effort, but at the end was not very compliant, was not very sustainable. That's when we saw a huge bottleneck that was slowing down progress in terms of these molecules getting to the clinic. The manufacturing capacity conundrum, obviously has the CMOs and CDMOs trying to solve it, but there's a huge crunch which has resulted in a wait list in these CDMOs and CMOs that's anywhere from a year or more. So we saw this over and over again and decided to build these clean rooms and some associated services, wraparound services, really geared to enable those sort of clients to get to the clinic as soon as possible without having to take on the burden of facility ownership or without having to go wait in line at a third party such as CMO or CDMO. So that was in 2017 when we took a small space in Waltham and we started this concept. We built the first two clean rooms between 2017 and 2018. And over the next 3 years, we've taken that to I guess in July, we'll have 37 clean rooms, primarily in the Boston area, but we also have a location in San Diego.
So Ravi, one of the things that you've said to me that I love the most is your basic tagline when you talk to your prospective clients. Let's take a minute on that because I think it's really important.
Yeah, the tagline of the business really is you focus on the science and we focus on the compliance. And this is geared towards the clients as a message, as a slogan, right? So the reason for that is because our clients really have never done GMP manufacturing, right? So for them, it's easy to focus on the science because they have great, ideas, great molecules they have tested at the preclinical phase, but may not have the expertise in terms of GMPs, in terms of the FDA, EMA expectations. That's where we come in and provide those compliant wraparound services, whether it be materials management, asset management, getting documents up and running, quality management systems, so that the clients can really continue to focus on what they're good at. And then the model is also to enable our clients who will eventually graduate from our facilities to be enabled with those tools so that they can go ahead and make these manufacturing batches themselves without the help of Azzur in the future. So let's say clients come into our facilities for the early phase clinical batches and the molecules are successful, we can help them transition to the subsequent manufacturing facility they might want to build themselves, operate themselves.
Ravi, what I love about your model, not only is the fact that you're offering is a series of individual clean rooms where a client can take one or more, depending on the size or the number of molecules they're working on, but also you deliver the whole Azzur package to the client. I mean, you really do provide a full service turnkey operation for these clients in terms of dealing with things that they would be ill prepared to deal with, and also the day-to-day logistics of on-site materials handling and management.
That's right. Yeah, the wraparound services that I mentioned are equally important, right, in terms of maintaining product quality of the batch ultimately. So a lot of those GMP aspects may not be in the wheelhouse of the startup companies. So whether it be the receipt and release of raw materials in a quality fashion, or making sure the equipment are calibrated and qualified. So that's where, depending on each client's need, we provide a flexible proposal or scope of work that brings in the various other service areas from Azzur, whether it be the testing services through Azzur Labs, whether it be training services from our Azzur Training Center, our IT division providing security and IT compliance type of services, our calibration division, and so on. So that's really the value proposition is instead of going and trying to farm out these expertise, which takes time and effort. They can rely on our expertise as much as possible, and then someday still staff up to gain that expertise for long-term sustainability. So in a lot of ways, our facilities are bridge facilities where clients are still in parallel trying to develop internal expertise, but a quick way to get to the clinic rather than waiting in line at a CMO or having to spend the capital, but also the time to go build your own facility.
Ravi, I can imagine that there are as many as 20 companies in the Philadelphia region who would be ready to sign up for your services, for your offering. When will you be open for business here in Philadelphia?
So, we have been focusing primarily on the hotbeds. We've grown significantly in the Boston region from when we started about 3 years ago. We intend to expand there. We just announced a lease that we signed in the North Carolina area, which is also a big hotbed. San Francisco is definitely our next goal because that is a close second to Cambridge in terms of cell and gene therapy action, which happens to be a big part of our client base. Pennsylvania, we have looked at a few locations. We are hoping to have it ready by the end of next year. Hopefully, open doors by either end of next year or early 2023.
So where do these companies sign up? How do they come and raise their hand and say, Ravi, the day you open your doors, we're ready. We want to get going. How do
Yes.
they do that? What's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so a lot of our initial clients came through our consulting stints, right? So we'd have clients that have need for a facility for a CMO, for example, and they're frustrated waiting in line, and that's when we encourage them to look at our business model. That's definitely one avenue. Um, our website has various ways to reach either me directly or our sales and marketing team. Um, but a lot of it has been word of mouth. Once the value is evident to a couple of clients, they provided testimonials for us, some of which have been published. That really helped gain some momentum in terms of visibility of this business. We're still pretty small, Joe. We are still primarily in the Boston market. We're slowly growing. So we haven't had the need to go, scream out on top of the buildings in Cambridge and saying this is a new business model. We're also a little wary of what we tell our competition, right, as to what the business model is like. But listen, the looking at the demand and supply imbalance, we'd be happy if there are many other companies that want to do what we are doing because the need is so much and so dire, right? There are so many critical therapies that are waiting to be accelerated where the expertise and the facilities and the support services are such a bottleneck. We all need to do what we can to accelerate that and that bottleneck.
Well, Ravi, thank you for what you're doing. It really is an important component to the ecosystem. I love the integration of your consulting with the offering of the clean rooms, and we will watch with great interest. Look forward to supporting you in whatever way we can. And thank you for spending time with us on Lab Notes.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for the opportunity, Joe, and hope to speak to you soon.
Great.